You still answer the message. You still open the laptop. You still show up to the shift, the meeting, the school run, the family call, the unpaid favor, the quick thing that somehow becomes another hour. From the outside, nothing dramatic has happened. You are not lying on the floor. You are not falling apart in public. You are not sending a resignation email in the middle of the night. You are functioning, but privately, something has changed. You answer slower. You explain less. You stop volunteering for extra tasks. You look at a promotion and quietly ask whether the title is worth the damage. You use new tools at work, but you also wonder whether the tool is there to help you, measure you, or both. You say, "I'm fine," because telling the full truth would create another task. That is the shape of working exhaustion right now. It is not always collapse. Often, it is a private redesign of behavior. People are still inside the system, still doing what they must do, still paying the bill, finishing the shift, replying to the message, carrying the mood, holding the day together, but they are protecting the last energy they have left. The public language sounds polished. Employers talk about well-being. Governments talk about getting people back into work. Companies talk about AI productivity. Career culture talks about ambition, growth, leadership, and resilience. But ordinary people are doing something quieter. They are calculating the cost. Mental Health UK's 2026 Burnout report points to high stress pushing workers into sick leave, while many employees do not feel mental health is genuinely prioritized at work. NAMI and Ipsos found that more than half of workers in the United States felt burned out because of their job, and more than 1 in 4 had considered quitting because of job demands and mental health. WHO connects mental health at work to workload, low control, unclear roles, weak support, and poor working conditions. Those are not just workplace terms. They become behavior. Sick days, quit thoughts, lower trust, less engagement, more silence, more people trying to keep a job while also trying not to disappear inside it. Gallup's global workplace data points in the same direction. Falling engagement, continued stress, sadness, anger, and loneliness at work, and managers are under pressure too. That matters. Because when managers burn out, the support layer weakens. The person who is supposed to translate pressure, absorb chaos, and protect the team has less capacity to do exactly that. So the employee gets a well-being email. The manager gets another meeting. And the work still lands somewhere. For ordinary people, the shared reality is this. Work has become less contained. It leaks into the body, the phone, the evening, the weekend, the family mood, the sleep cycle, and the private feeling of whether life is still manageable. That is why burnout cannot be treated as a soft personal issue. It affects whether people can keep participating in ordinary life. The body usually tells the truth before the workplace does. You stop sleeping properly. You get irritated faster. You avoid a social plan because another human conversation feels like work. You leave the laundry in the machine because the day used all the decisions. You scroll, not because it restores you, but because choosing something better requires energy you no longer have. You tell yourself you will deal with the bill, the appointment, the difficult conversation, the CV, the training, the family pressure tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes storage for the life you cannot carry today. Men often feel this through money, status, and silence, not as an abstract victim story. As concrete behavior, a man under financial pressure does not always say, "I am scared." Often, he works more, says less, withdraws, jokes around it, avoids opening the bill, hides the panic behind practical tasks, irritation, or silence. A commercially backed 2026 survey reported that many men feel society expects them to handle financial stress without talking about it, and more than half said they had avoided discussing financial pressure because they felt they should have it under control. That source should be treated carefully. But the behavior signal is recognizable. Men often convert pressure into silence. The old provider script is still alive, even when the economy no longer supports it cleanly. Rent is higher, food is higher, transport is higher, dating costs money, family life costs money. Being stable costs money. Even dignity can start to feel like it has a monthly subscription. So some men become quieter. They reduce their social surface. They stop initiating plans. They say they are busy. They carry the shame privately because admitting financial strain can feel like admitting a failure of identity. That is where working exhaustion becomes gendered without becoming ideological. The male version often looks like containment. Hold it in, keep moving, do not become a problem, do not show the panic, do not lose status in public. Women often feel it through responsibility without enough support. Again, not as moral superiority, as behavior. McKinsey and Lean In's Women in the Workplace research shows that women's career ambition is strongly shaped by real support and fair opportunity. That matters because the lazy narrative says women simply need to lean in harder. But the behavior says something sharper. Many women are not rejecting competence, ambition, or responsibility. They are rejecting the version of advancement where more status comes with more invisible labor, more emotional management, more office housework, and less real backing. A woman looks at a promotion and does not only ask, "Can I do the job?" She asks, "Will this job eat the rest of my life?" She asks whether leadership means authority or just being made responsible for chaos without power. She asks whether flexibility will actually help, or whether it will mean working at night after everyone else's needs are handled. The public story calls promotion empowerment. The private calculation asks, empowerment for whom and at what cost? The point is not men versus women. The point is that men and women often protect themselves differently under the same exhausted system. Men may protect their last energy by becoming silent, practical, financially defensive, and harder to read. Women may protect their last energy by becoming more selective, slower to accept more responsibility, and less willing to trade health for status. Everyone is still trying to function. But the protection strategy differs because the pressure lands through different roles. For men, the wound often sits near status, money, and the expectation to carry pressure without needing care. For women, the wound often sits near support, invisible responsibility, and the expectation to absorb emotional and organizational mess while still smiling in the language of opportunity. Both can be true, and pretending only one is real makes ordinary people harder to see. AI is now adding another layer. The sales pitch is clean. AI will save time, remove boring tasks, increase productivity. Sometimes it does. Used well, it can reduce friction, but ILO's work on AI and algorithmic management warns that workplace AI is not only a tool in someone's hand, it can also be used in recruitment, monitoring, performance evaluation, task allocation, and dismissal decisions. OECD has raised similar concerns around algorithmic management, worker autonomy, transparency, and accountability. That changes behavior. People may publicly praise AI because nobody wants to look outdated. Privately, they become careful. They use the tool, but they watch who is watching. They wonder whether adoption dashboards are really about learning or compliance. They wonder whether productivity gains will become time back or higher targets, layoffs, and fewer people doing more work. This is one of the hidden shifts right now. Technology is changing behavior faster than it is changing belief. A person can say, AI is exciting, while quietly feeling that every new tool also creates a new measurement system around them. That is not paranoia, it is pattern recognition. The same problem appears in well-being culture. A company can offer mental health awareness, a webinar, a meditation app, a bring your whole self to work campaign, and still leave the workload untouched. Mental Health UK's Burnout report makes that distinction clear. Many workers do not feel mental health is genuinely prioritized and supported. Awareness is not the same as air. You can name burnout and still design work that produces it. That is the uncomfortable truth. A lot of modern care language does not reduce pressure. It makes pressure sound more humane while leaving the person alone with the bill. Well-being without workload change becomes image management. Flexibility without boundaries becomes work spread across the whole day. AI productivity without worker protection becomes surveillance with better branding. Return to work without real support becomes punishment dressed as responsibility. Empowerment without structural backing becomes a prettier word for carry more. The harm is not that work matters. Work does matter. Work can give structure, money, belonging, pride, and direction. The harm appears when institutions use good words to avoid changing the conditions that are draining people. There is also a positive truth here. People are not only breaking, many are becoming more precise. They are learning to tell the difference between real support and performance language. They are learning that a title is not automatically dignity. They are learning that being constantly available is not proof of character. They are learning that technology is useful, but not innocent. They are learning that saying no before collapse is not weakness. It may be the first adult decision left. Eurofound's work on the right to disconnect points directly at this. When digital tools keep work alive beyond working hours, the boundary has to be rebuilt somehow. WHO also recommends organizational interventions, not only individual coping. That is the key. The answer cannot only be more resilient. If work keeps expanding into every pocket of time, resilience becomes another unpaid task. And the ordinary person already has too many unpaid tasks. That is the part public debate often misses. It is easy to discuss productivity from above. It is easy to discuss labor market participation from a spreadsheet. It is easy to discuss AI transformation from a conference stage. It is easy to discuss women's leadership, men's mental health, youth inactivity, flexibility, burnout, and well-being as separate topics. But in a normal week, they meet inside one human body. One person wakes up tired, checks messages, worries about money, performs stability, handles work pressure, hides stress from family, uses tools they do not fully trust, avoids one difficult conversation, eats whatever is easiest, scrolls too late, and promises to reset on Monday. That is the actual workplace now. Not only the office, not only the app, not only the policy document, the human day. Working exhaustion is what happens when people are still technically functioning but privately start rearranging their lives around damage control. They do less extra. They share less. They trust less. They risk less. They recover worse. They stop believing every nice word attached to pressure. No one needs another motivational speech about pushing through. People have pushed through enough. The next honest step is smaller and harder. Name where the energy is actually going. Separate real support from nice language. Treat boundaries as part of dignity, not as a luxury. Reclaiming dignity does not mean rejecting work, ambition, technology, or responsibility. It means refusing to let those things eat the whole human being. It means asking whether the support is real, whether the workload changed, whether flexibility has boundaries, whether productivity gives time back, or simply raises the target, whether a title adds dignity or only adds damage, and whether ordinary people are still allowed to keep enough of themselves to have a life outside what they produce. Because when people begin protecting their last energy in private, they are not rejecting life. They are trying to keep enough of themselves to still have one.